Welcome back to Askewed Reviews, and since this month is Pride Month, we're doing a few LGBTQ plus films. And today we're doing the 1996 comedy, The Birdcage. Here is your trivia question for today. Where is the song that Armand and Catherine dance and sing to from? The answer will be at the end of this video. So in the film, we start off with one of our main characters, Armand. He happens to be the owner of a club called the Birdcage, and this happens to be a drag club. Now, Armand has a partner named Albert, who also happens to be his star of the show named Starina. Now, Armand and Albert are a couple and happen to live in the apartment above the club, along with their live-in maid, Agador, who also happens to be gay. Now, Armand also has a son named Val, who comes to visit to notify his father that he is going to get married to a woman named Barbara. Now, Barbara's parents are conservatives, Senator Keeley and his wife Louise, who at the moment are dealing with a bit of a scandal that the senator's partner has gotten involved in. So the Keeleys decided it'd be a good idea to get away from the situation. And what better way to get away than to visit the parents of the people their daughter is going to marry? Now, the problem with that is that Barbara has told them that Val's parents are a bit different than what they appear to be. So now, to help out Val and Barbara, Armand has to pretend to be straight, and Albert has to pretend to be a woman. Now, of course, lots of mishaps and shenanigans do occur, but are Armand and Albert able to keep their secret, or will the scandal that the Keeleys are dealing with become the bigger news? Now, the basis for the movie The Birdcage comes from the French farce La Cage aux Folles. Now, what's interesting is that in the mid 80s, they actually planned on doing a remake of La Cage aux Folles with Frank Sinatra and Dudley Moore. Unfortunately, Dudley Moore backed out, so it never actually happened. Now, this version, known as The Birdcage, was directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. Robin Williams was not actually the first choice of the character of Armand. In fact, Billy Crystal is up for the role, Jim Carrey. Robert Redford's name got passed around when there was a possibility that Williams was going to have to back out. But the actual character of Armand was originally given to Steve Martin, and Robin Williams was originally going to play the character of Albert. Now, unfortunately, Steve Martin had to back out due to scheduling conflicts, and Robin Williams asked if he could take on the role of Armand, as he had recently been in drag for Mrs. Doubtfire and didn't want to be typecasted. Nathan Lane, who had primarily done Broadway before this, did already know that he was gay, but didn't actually come out until 3 years after the making of this film. The character of Agador, or more specifically the butler, was originally going to go to David Allen Greer, but they were worried about how it would look as a housekeeper being a black person. Now, speaking of Agador, Hank Azaria only realized after first seeing the screening of the film that the voice he was doing for the character was a copy of his grandmother. Hank Azaria, by the way, has always been good friends with Billy Bob Thornton, and during the filming of The Birdcage, Billy Bob was working on the movie Sling Blade. The two of them would actually ride around town in a car, and each of them doing the voices from both their movies and pretending their characters were in a buddy cop film. The only other possible casting option I've heard with this movie is that the character Louise Keeley, played by Diane Wiest, was originally going to go to Diane Keaton, but felt it was too similar to her character that she played in the Father of the Bride movies. This I just found very amusing. Apparently, the director had a deal with both Williams and Lane that every scene they had to do completely on script, at least once, and then they could go off it, because apparently both of them were notorious for improvising. Now, if you can't get enough of this film, there's not really a musical version of this movie out there, but you can still find productions of La Cage aux Folles at many different theaters. So when it comes to the movie The Birdcage, I do think everyone should see this film. It's highly amusing, very entertaining. I hated the character of Val, though. I just really disliked how he treated his dad, but I still really like the movie, and I'm going to give this one a 5 out of 5. As for the trivia question from the beginning of this episode, where is the song that Armand and Catherine dance and sing to from? Well, when the two characters are reminiscing and begin singing and dancing together, the song they're singing is Love is in the Air, which is actually a song that was cut from the musical A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Askewed Reviews, and if there's a movie you'd like to see get a review, just mention it in the comments. And as always, like, comment, share, and subscribe.